So in this video, I'm just going to walk you through kind of the basics of what you would need to create an online training program or an online course with your ideas. So what I'm using is just two example mind maps from my own notes with a client, just to show you, because they provide a good kind of working model of how you would start creating the content and setting up the system to develop your own online training course or your own online program. And what are those elements that you need? So we're looking at a program that's just happened to be called Fear Walk, so a Fear Walk program. And so initially, these are the first few ideas that could be created right off the bat to create online training. So the first things are the ones that we have little tags on, right? And so the virtual live training series, what's being created is a very small training program, like easy to create basically, because all it really could involve would be maybe weekly calls, say over a course of 6 weeks, so like a 6-week training series. And it might just be a weekly call and say a training video, and that would create like a 6-week program. So that's an initial start that could just get you creating your online training program. Just something as basic as a conference call every week, and then a training video to accompany it. And that could be set up with a little membership site, right? So that's a really great starting point because it gives you a couple things. It's called what we're calling a soft launch. So it really helps you to start to see, is there a market for this? Do people want to buy my program? Are people interested? Do they show up for calls? If they don't, do they prefer to have like the calls saved as a recording in an archive where they can log in later and listen whenever they want to? You know, like you'll learn so much by doing a soft launch and creating something small and easy to get your feet wet, to really learn if you've got something you want to take bigger. And if you do, then, you know, what are the other formats you want to go with it? So that's a really great jumping off point. Now, to complement that, if you're going to be selling, you know, a 6-week program, how are you going to sell it? Well, there's a couple ideas, and these are the other ones we have tagged. So first, a podcast. You could create a podcast for virtually almost free, right? I say almost because you might want to use a service like Hipcast or Libsyn. So that's hipcast.com or Libsyn, Libsyn.com. Either one of those are podcast publishing services. So you literally just pay them $9 to $15 a month or something, and they will tag and format and upload your podcast to a platform like iTunes, so that they kind of do it all for you. All you really need to do is provide them an audio file as often as you want, and they just do it all for you. I highly recommend using one of those services for like $15 a month because it just makes things so much easier. And then other than that, you might just need a graphic for your podcast to upload to iTunes or whatever. And then perhaps you might want a website to host those podcast episodes. You might not. You just let them live on iTunes. It's a very quick and easy way to get exposure and to start to tap into your niche market where you can then talk about your training series. You can also interview people on your podcast, people that may have lots of contacts and lots of people they might tell about being interviewed on your podcast so that you get lots more people listening to your podcast and lots more people finding out about your virtual training program, right? So it's a really easy, relatively easy at least, way to start getting some well-known, or so to get known to sell your training program for virtually free, right? You're not really paying advertising costs or anything. So that's one way to sell it. Another way would be to pay for advertising, like specifically with something like Facebook. Because Facebook, you can target the type of person that you want to, that has a certain interest that would be relevant to your program. You can target the age group and all that. So Facebook ads would probably be the other way you would sell an online training series if you want to do it like quick and easy, right? So those are the two ways. Now the podcast would take a little longer. You might have the podcast up for, a month, 2 months, 3 months as you're developing your material for your training series so that you're getting that going and getting listeners and getting people finding you. And then you launch the training series, say 3 months later, right? The Facebook ads can be turned on like 2-3 weeks right before you launch your program because that'll be like immediate traffic, right? So the Facebook ads would be second. Now, along with that, you might want to create like an introductory course for someone else's programs, right? Like an affiliate's programs. So maybe you have an introductory course that you put on somebody else's platform because then people will start to find you because they'll be on that other person's platform, right? So if that other person has an audience already and people buying their stuff, and then you create like an introductory course, then their checking out your course and they're finding out about you for, without a whole lot of effort because you're just basically piggybacking off of somebody else's program and audience. So that's another great way to get exposure for your training series. And then after that, once you have your training series, you might want to think about what's the upsell. So after the 6 weeks, what would be next? Well, you might upsell to a retreat, or you might upsell to a live workshop. And then later you might even develop a book out of it to build more credibility and build a reputation. So then you can launch the program again, but then you have the testimonials from people that have been through your program. You have the credibility of being a published author, and you have a lot more weight behind you whenever you launch it again. And maybe it's a bigger, longer series. Maybe it's more comprehensive. Maybe it's more expensive because now you're a published author and you've gotten people that have been through your program and you have a lot more, people that know who you are. So those are kind of the elements. And this is just one model. I'm not saying this is the right model or the best model. I'm just saying this is one version of a model of how you would go about creating an online training program or course. Now, let's move on to my second mind map. The second one is digging into the virtual live training series. So what do you actually need to create that part of this map? Well, that's here. So if we dig in further, these are kind of the basics for what you would need. So first you would want a landing page to start to sell your offer, right? So you need people to find out about you. And ideally what you're going to do is you're going to have them come to a landing page and get a free gift. So you might want to have a video on that landing page welcoming them and offering them to opt in with their email to get a free gift. And then you would send people to that landing page with Facebook ads. So that would get them in to your email mailing list. And then you can follow up with them through email to eventually lead them to buying your video training course or your program. The next thing you would need is your video training, right? Or the elements, maybe it's not video, maybe it's just PowerPoint slides, maybe it's just documents. Maybe there are no accompanying media with your program, but you want to create the program itself. And so you would probably need, you'd certainly need a payment method or a shopping cart. You could use PayPal, one shopping cart. There's a whole bunch of them. Infusionsoft. You could use any sort of payment platform like that. You'd need to have that to have people buy your program. Then you need a place to host your videos where they could be protected so the public couldn't see them. They'd have to buy the membership first. And so that hosting, you could do it like with Vimeo or Wistia. So you would want to set up the member area with something like OptimizePress, because OptimizePress is a membership platform that allows you to have a whole bunch of functionality without actually having to basically custom code everything. It's like $100 and some one time, or maybe I think it's a yearly annual fee, but it's a really inexpensive way to create a membership website and get all sorts of functionality without having to pay buku money for a programmer or a developer. So check out OptimizePress. It just happens to be one of them. I use it quite a lot. You can use, whatever you want, but that's the one that I like. And then finally, you want to figure out your conference line for your live calls, and you want to have a place to host your audio files. You could use something like Amazon S3 to host your audio files. They couldn't be hosted in the same place as your videos because these two platforms are specifically for video. So you might use Amazon S3 to host your audios. And then finally, you want to figure out what's your next offer. Is it a retreat or a live workshop or something like that to really take people to the next level? So I hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. If you want to find a link to these two mind maps, I will be posting these on my blog, and I'll have the link in the description for this video. So you can just click that link and you can go download these two mind maps just to have them as an example for your own program. Thank you.